Welcome to this Fundamentals Lesson Plan series on building documentation, sections, and elevations. In this video, we'll take a look at creating a detail section view of the model. This is video 3 of 9. My name is John Harridge, and I will be your host for today's lesson. Let's look at the learning objectives for video 3. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to create a call-out view from a building section view, modify the view scale and visual style of the callout view, create a filled region to enhance the detail view, load in 2D detail components and place those 2D detail components in the callout view, and add additional 2D detail line work to further illustrate the design intent of the building model. With that, let's get started. Let's begin this exercise by opening up an existing exercise file. Go ahead and click open and navigate to your tutorial directory. And let's open up the file Building Documents Exercise 03. So this is the project context. We're going to create an enlarged detail view from one of the building sections through this structure. And let me proceed with an instructor heads up of where we're going for this exercise. So just pause and wait here while I bring up a image of the final goal. So I'm creating a drafting view to host an image of the final product that we are working towards. So you don't need to follow along. I just want you to understand where we're headed for this exercise. So I'm bringing this file into the drafting view, and then I'll maximize this. So this image represents the final product of this exercise, and it's a fairly lengthy exercise, so we will make interim saves to. Next, let's call out some of the features of the 2D detail. So first off is some 2D detail components, not unlike blocks in AutoCAD. In this case, a 2x represents that section member. Next up is filled regions, where we can indicate where earth is. Next is siding as a 2D detail component, along with 2D detail line work to help complete some of this illustration. This concludes the instructor heads up. Let's move over to the beginning of the exercise. So from here, I want you to go into Project Browser and open up the Section 1 view. And we will create an enlarged call-out view of one of these building connection details on the left-hand side, where indicated by the cursor. So to begin, go ahead and zoom in so we can see this with a little bit more detail. Left-click on the View tab, and in the Create panel, we are looking for the Call-Out tool. Let's go ahead and select that Call-Out tool. And basically, we're defining the region that we wish to enlarge. So left click to set one corner, and then left click to set the other corner of that bounding box. Once the call out has been placed, the next step is to relocate the call out head. So you just select the call out object, and then you'll see these grips on the varying edges and faces. Take the drag handle for the section head and move it to the outside of the building, approximately at this location, and release the left mouse button. Next, let's modify the properties of the callout view. With the callout view in a selection set, move over to your properties palette. Let's go ahead and define the scale. Let's go ahead and set that to 1.5 inches equals a foot. Next, let's go ahead and change the visual style for the view. So click on the Edit button across from Graphic Display Options. From the pull-down menu, go ahead and select Hidden Line. And then click OK to proceed. And then the last thing is to modify its view name. So go ahead and highlight the view name field, and let's go ahead and enter detail at foundation sill. Click Apply to accept. In Project Browser, you'll find the section Callout View folder. Go ahead and expand that and open up our new detail at foundation sill view. Next, we will add 2D details to the model view to further illustrate construction intent. And these 2D detail components are view specific. Let's begin by going to the Annotate tab. And there's the creation tools. In this case, the first thing we'll do is actually add a filled region. So this is about creating a boundary and then assigning properties to those boundaries. So up in the draw panel, just confirm that the line mode is enabled, and also make sure that the chain function is marked. And as best you can, go ahead and trace the left edge of the crop region. Go to the bottom, create the next segment to the right, trace along the face of the foundation wall, and then go ahead and close that boundary. Next, we'll go ahead and assign the properties of that filled region to become representation of earth material. So go ahead and click Modify to end the filled region command. First thing we'll do is we'll place these two lines in a common selection set and change its line type style to wide lines. So from that pull down menu, go ahead and select wide lines. And then the second property we'll adjust is the fill pattern to represent earth. So in the properties palette, go ahead and click Edit Type. Actually, let's go ahead and duplicate this style first. Let's go ahead and give it the name Earth. Click OK to accept. Now let's modify its pattern properties. Left click in the value field, click on Browse. Scroll down until you find the Earth pattern. Left click to select it. Notice it's a drafting pattern, which means it will always scale proportionally to the scale of the view. Let's go ahead and click OK to accept. Click OK again to accept and dismiss the dialog box. And then again, this is a sketch-based object. Go ahead and finish the sketch. And there you've got your finished filled region. Next up, we will import 2D detail components to continue with the detailing process. So from the Annotate tab, Detail panel, go ahead and choose Component, Detail Component, and we'll load in some family components. Go ahead and choose Load Family. Navigate to the Detail Items folder in the Revit library. Next, we're looking for Division 6, Wood Framing. Go ahead and open up that folder. And then go ahead and select the Nominal Cut Lumber section .rfa family. Keep in mind this is a library family, so it has multiple predefined shapes available to us. We just want to import 2 shapes. So if you would, go ahead and left click on 2x4 to select that shape, and then control left click to grab the 2x10 as well. Click OK to continue. So with the 2x4 as the active shape, let's go ahead and place it at the bottom of the wall. Hit the spacebar key once to orient it or rotate it 90 degrees and left click to place. Next, let's go ahead and place some 2x10s. So in the type selector, go ahead and choose the 2x10 shape. Let's go ahead and place the plate first. So hit the spacebar key if need be to rotate. And for the rim board, you may have to hit the spacebar key 2 or 3 times to get it in the right orientation. Go ahead and left click to place. That completes the placement of the 2x10s. Next, I'll go ahead and pick up the plywood. And let's go ahead and place plywood for the floor substrate. And then hitting the spacebar key to rotate it, we'll go ahead and place plywood for the exterior sheathing and just go ahead and set a location just below the sill plate. And it looks like my 2x10 didn't take hold for the rim board, so I'll go ahead and create similar. I'll left click to place another instance, and then I'll reselect it and then use the move command to position it. There we go. Next, let's go ahead and add in the siding component. Actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and change the thickness of the sheathing. Just let you know it's parametric. So let's go ahead and change that from 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch. So type in 3/4 inch and then click apply. Now it's thinner. Next, let's add an anchor bolt to the detail view. I'll start the detail component tool once again. Move over to the type selector and select anchor bolt. We want to place the anchor bolt at the midpoint of the 2x10 sill plate. So once you acquire that midpoint snap, go ahead and left click to place an instance. Back to the type selector, let's go ahead and place an instance of lap siding. Go ahead and place your cursor into the model view and left click at the lower left corner of the plywood sheathing. Hit the modify command to end the placement of lap siding. Let's reposition the lap siding. Go ahead and left click to select it, and we want to move it downwards 3/4 of an inch. So pick a base point on screen, drag your cursor straight down, enter in 3/4 inches, and hit the enter key to accept. That way we're creating a drip edge for the water. Next, we'll make 2 copies of the lap siding to complete the detail. So left click to select the siding. Go ahead and choose the copy command from the modify panel. Just make sure multiple is marked. Let's use the lower right corner of the lap siding as the base point. Left click. Left click at the top of the siding to place another instance, and then repeat to create one more instance. Left click. That's good. Hit the modify command to end the copy process. Let's go ahead and save and maintain progress. Do a file save as, give it the name Building Documents Exercise 3 Finished. Click Save to continue. To finish up the lap siding, we want to add some 2D detail line work to make that read better. So let me zoom into the region just to see it in more detail. And to make this easier, let's also turn on Thin Lines mode. Okay. And let's start the Detail Line Work tool to kind of fill in that gap. Go ahead and set the line type to wide lines. Let's go ahead and start the first segment at the edge of the lap siding here. Left click. Go ahead and trace upwards. Left click to set the first segment, and then drag to the right. Left click to set the endpoint of the second segment. Hit the modify command. Let's see if there's any gaps. There is. There's just a small gap between the first line we created and the horizontal line of the lap siding. Let's go ahead and place another instance of that line using create similar. I'll left click here and then left click to the left to close that gap. Hit the modify tool button to end the drawing process. I'll turn Thin Lines mode off just so we can see the result of our line work. Okay, zooming back out, we want to add a baseboard to the detail next. So at this location, go ahead and choose the Detail Line Work tool once again. This time in the Draw panel, let's choose the Rectangle Layout mode. Go ahead and start the lower left corner at the intersection of the gyp wallboard and the plywood substrate. And let's try to acquire the dimensions of 3/4 of an inch wide by 3.5 inches high. And left click once you've acquired those two dimensions. Next, we want to edit the properties of the wall. Go ahead and click Modify to end the draw process. We want to expose a cut pattern for the gypsum just to make it more legible. So go ahead and left click to select the wall on screen. Left click to edit the type properties. Click Edit across from the structure field. Left click in the material for layer 3 and click the Browse button. Next. We don't need to really make a material assignment change. That's already been assigned to the wall type, but if there was a need to do so, you could do it at this time. In this case, what we really want to do is just modify the cut pattern material assignment. So on the right hand side, you'll see in the lowest section there a cut pattern field. So go ahead and left click in the value field for pattern. Scroll down to gypsum plaster and select it. Go ahead and click OK to continue. Click OK again to dismiss the material dialog box. Click OK to dismiss the wall editor. And then the last OK is to dismiss the dialog box and have the model view update to display that cut pattern. Next, we'll add, after we save the file, to maintain progress, next we'll add insulation to the detail view. right in this location, in this cavity space. So it's actually a line type. So from the Annotate tab, Detail panel, you'll find the Installation tool. On the options bar, you have the ability to set its width. We'll actually leave it set to 3 inches. Move the cursor on screen. It's like drawing a line, so acquire the midpoint snap at the top of the 2x4. Left click to set the first endpoint, and then place the second endpoint above the crop region to complete that installation line. Go ahead and hit modify to end the installation tool. And then the last thing we want to do is actually place break lines to give it that finishing touch. So click the detail component tool. In your type selector, go ahead and choose break line. Place the cursor into the detail view and locate the position of this approximately at this location, and left click to place it. And you'll notice it'll actually create a clean cut of the model and detail components above that. So it actually has like a masking property. Okay, let's go ahead and place another instance of the break line. So we'll start the detail component tool once again. Just make sure break line is chosen. We want to place it in a vertical orientation at this location in the detail. So hit the spacebar key 3 times to get the orientation set up correctly so that the masking property is to the right of the break line. Go ahead and left click to place an instance. Choose modify to end the placement process. Let's go ahead and zoom to fit the view. Please save the file. This concludes this exercise. Let's go ahead and take a look at next steps. Let's review the learning objectives for video 3. In this lesson, you were able to create a call-out view of the model. We then modified the view scale and visual styles of the call-out view. We further iterated on the detail view by adding filled regions for the earthwork. We loaded in 2D detail components to further illustrate the structure of the detail view, and then added 2D detail line work where necessary. With that, let's go ahead and take a look at Autodesk resources available to you. I would like to make you aware of 2 Autodesk resources. The first resource is the Autodesk Education Community, where you can access free software for both students and educators for titles like Autodesk Revit featured in this series. The website address is www.students.autodesk.com. Registration is required to access the free software using either your personal email address or your school-issued email address. The second resource is the Autodesk Digital STEAM Workshop. It's hands-on, project-based learning across multiple industries such as architecture, engineering, and entertainment. The website address is www.digitalsteam.autodesk.com. Registration is required to download the free learning resources using your Autodesk ID created from the Autodesk Education Community. You will find the Fundamentals of Architecture series under the Subject pull-down menu, Architecture link. Assets include step-by-step instructions, datasets, and videos. This concludes this lesson overview summary. Thank you for watching.